Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalam ala Sayyidil Mursaleen, amma ba'd. This is question number 14 from Fatawa Arkan Islam of Shaykh Muhammad Uthaymin from the Fatawa pertaining to as-Siyam. And in this clip we're going to be looking at two questions, question number 408 and question 409. 408, the person is asking, is it required for a person to have an intention for each individual day of Ramadan, or is it sufficient for him to make one intention for the whole month at the beginning of the month? And the Shaykh answers, rahimahullah, that he said that it's sufficient for a person to make one intention for the whole month at the beginning of the month. This is sufficient and it is valid, because even if the person who is fasting didn't make an intention for each individual day, he's already made that intention at the beginning of the month anyway. So if he makes that intention at the beginning of the month, this is the month I'm going to fast, he's already formed that intention at the beginning. So for the 5th day, for the 10th day, for the 28th day, he's already made that intention from day one. Therefore, that is in accordance to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that the intention needs to be made before that day of fasting has begun. However, the Shaykh highlights a point here that if that intention is broken, however, due to him traveling, due to an illness, then he needs to then renew that intention once more. So say, for example, he intends to fast for the whole month whilst being resident, and he makes that intention, but on day 5, he travels to a different city. When he returns, say on day 6 or 7 or whatever it is, he needs to form the intention for the rest of the month or each individual day afterwards, because that intention, the initial intention, has been invalidated because it's been cut off. That's question number 408. 409, this is a very important one, and it's very unfortunate, I think, that some people are not aware of this hukum and this mas'ala, which is that if a person, is the opposite of 408, if a person has an intention to break the fast, and even if he's not eaten anything and he's not physically drunk anything, is the fast still valid? Meaning, say you're fasting an obligatory fast or a voluntary fast, and you've started that day, and at some point in the day you think, you know what, I'm not fasting anymore. You've made that intention firm in your mind, in your heart, I'm not fasting for whatever reason, I'm not well, or it's an optional fast and, some food has been presented to me and I think I'm going to eat it, whatever it is. If a person has made an intention to break the fast, this is the issue. So the Shaykh is saying this is a well-known issue between the ulama, that fasting combines intention as well as abandonment. That is the whole point of fasting, right? Because you're doing it for the sake of Allah, and it involves you, sacrificing and refraining from certain things for that day to attain taqwa. So if a person makes the intention by fasting to draw closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by abandoning these things, then this is the fast. But if he makes the intention to stop fasting, then one of those two things, which is the intention plus abandonment, the intention, which is the first thing which is needed for his fast to be valid, is no longer there. Therefore, the fast becomes invalidated. So this is very important because, like I said, some people, they go between intentions, and the Shaykh's going to highlight that particular ruling on that uncertainty of your intention. But sometimes people are fasting, whether it's an obligatory fast or voluntary fast, and they say to themselves, no, I don't think I'm going to do it. And they've made that niyyah in their heads. As soon as they've done that, the fast has become invalid. But the Shaykh, rahimahullah, talks about the severity of this situation of doing that during an obligatory fast, during the month of Ramadan. And we've talked about imsak before. Remember, imsak is that if a person's got an excuse, and despite the fact that the excuse has been lifted, he can still continue eating and drinking for the rest of that day because he's going to make qada of it anyway, and he's got a concession because he's considered as those people who don't need to fast that day because of evidence that we've got for that. However, this person must make imsak because he hasn't got an excuse. So the Shaykh is saying, if a person has not fasted a day in Ramadan, during that day he must refrain from eating and drinking and sexual intercourse until the sun sets. Because every single person who breaks his fast in Ramadan without an excuse must continue with that imsak as well as making qada for it, because of the severity of the situation that they found themselves in. That is if the person's intention is firm, that he's become certain, he's resolute in the fact that he is not going to continue fasting. However, if they were not sure, if they're saying, well, I've got a bit of a headache, I'm not sure, should I break my fast today or not? If the intention is not firm and they are undecided, then this is an issue of disagreement between the ulama. Some of the ulama have said, because of the fact that the intention, remember, fasting has two parts to it: the intention and the abandonment. So because the first part, which is the intention, is no longer firm, that person's fast would become invalidated because of the fact that the niyyah doesn't remain. And that's a view from some of the scholars. Others from the scholars, and this is what the Shaykh is saying, were of the view that it's not invalidated, because the basic principle when it comes to acts of worship, the basic principle when it comes to niyyah as well, a person's intention, is that it remains until something firm and something concrete has come to invalidate it. So if a person's got a firm intention to fast for that day and there's some doubt as to whether they want to carry on or not, the asl in origin is that niyyah remains. And the same thing when it comes to acts of worship. If a person is doing an act of worship and they are certain that they've carried out that act of worship correctly, any kind of doubt that comes afterwards, you don't pay attention to it. So if a person prayed salah and then afterwards they think, did I have wudu? I'm not sure. If a person thinks very likely that they did have wudu, then you don't pay attention to those doubts. So the Shaykh is saying here is that at this time the person's got the intention, that is the basis of it, and the correct view, and this is his opinion, and he thinks that this is stronger from the two scholarly views, is that if a person is undecided, they want to break the fast but they're not sure, then that fast remains intact. However, if a person becomes resolute and they are certain that they do not want to fast anymore for that day, then that fast has become invalidated by that intention, even if they've not eaten or drink or anything yet. And like I said, this is a mas'ala in question number 409 that I feel that a lot of people are not aware of. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the ability to have ikhlas during this month and to make the abandonment from what is permissible and from what is sinful easy for us, and that He helps us to attain taqwa. هذا والله أعلم وصلى الله على نبينا محمد.